So, Kabir, good morning. Sorry, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, David. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Not bad at all. Now, we're here to talk about you, obviously. You are a big noise within the world of conservation, or you've become a big noise now, especially within London, but also elsewhere. And your major passion is promoting the virtues of urban wildlife to the greater public. So, where on earth did this passion first come from?
I'll be very honest with you, David. It came out of nowhere, really. It could have come from when I was very little, and I was probably 2 or 3. And I went into my grandma's living room and I saw her watching Blue Planet or Frozen Planet or Planet Earth, one of the David Attenborough documentaries, and seeing all these lovely animals on TV. And I wondered, maybe there could be some of these animals could be on my very doorstep. And then when I was about 7 or 8, I looked out into my garden and I did see some of the animals that I had seen on my TV when I was 2. That included house sparrows, greenfinches, goldfinches, starlings, and other bird species, mainly bird species. And that's how I became very interested in birds, and I became a birder eventually. So I was fascinated, particularly by this, but also that all these birds were in an urban setting in London. And I went out to all the different parks and green spaces in my local area in northwest London. And I saw that there were similar places, not just in my garden, but other places where these birds flourished and thrived and wildlife generally thrived. And that led me to discover my patch, which is Ruislip Woods, one of the largest areas of woodland in London. And it was wonderful to see all this wildlife flourishing. But I thought it needs to be protected for the future. So that's how I got into urban conservation and protecting what I like to call the wild side of London.
And how did the crossover come between, you having this personal feeling of, protecting the wildlife of London and crossing over to speaking to the masses and becoming a well-known name now? How did that happen?
Well, I think all it is being interested, really, being interested and in in what I was doing, looking for wildlife in urban areas. I started a blog in 2017, so it's been 4 years now since I wrote or started my blog, Call of the Wild, and that was really set up to try and connect with other like-minded people of all ages, but particularly young people, as at that point in time, I didn't know anyone who was interested in nature of a similar age. But it was when I went to a camp called Bird Camp for Young Naturalists in Thetford, in the BTO's headquarters, then I discovered that there were other young people who were also passionate in nature. And they all had done some amazing things, whether it be gardening for their local community or for their school grounds, or building nest boxes for their local community. And that really empowered me to continue trying my best to raise awareness for London's wildlife. So after going on this camp, I wanted to visit an old mapping project that I had done called Nature Reserves of London, which would show all the nature reserves and designated wildlife sites in London. And I wanted to create that to raise awareness about our urban nature and show the true scale of the amount, the extent to which London is a green city. It's a very green city, and not many people realize that. And I thought that more people need to know that, so that they can notice, appreciate, and eventually protect the wildlife on their doorstep if they live in an urban area like London. So I think it's all about having a positive mindset and uh, being positive about it. Most importantly, having a passion and continuing that passion, and you never know where it might take you.
Do you think the situation in London for nature is a rosy one? Do you think that, all is well, or are you worried?
I'll be very honest, David. I do have mixed feelings. On one hand, people conservation organisations are encouraging people to explore and discover the nature on their doorstep in London. And I think that's doing an excellent job in encouraging more people to notice and appreciate the wildlife of London, and especially my generation too. But on the other hand, not everybody realises the importance of nature to them and to their cities. And that will result in various different threats to green spaces around the capital. And I have seen that time and time again, where communities have been asking people to not destroy the green spaces around them for various different reasons, and they're not being listened to. And that again is because not everybody has that knowledge. Not everybody appreciates the importance of nature in cities. So I do feel that there is still a long way to go in making sure that everybody knows about London's wildlife and their importance. But I do feel optimistic because my generation is getting equipped with that knowledge. And if that continues, then I am hopeful that the future of London's green spaces will hopefully be a positive one.
What's your view on urban rewilding?
Well, urban rewilding to me is very important in cities. And I think that, again, when we've seen during the pandemic, we've seen that everybody has connected on a very large scale, connected with the urban nature on their doorstep. So I think that's one step that's been achieved. But in my opinion, the next step should be connect with those green spaces, keep visiting those green spaces on your urban doorstep. And then through urban greening, that'll reinforce that connection between people and these green spaces and wildlife. And people will realise the importance, or continue to realise the importance of wildlife in urban areas. So very recently, I had the great opportunity of going onto a green roof in inner London. And these are some of the new habitats that are being created. They are increasing in popularity across cities in the UK, like London. And I've heard that there are nesting linnets, there are house sparrows that thrive there, but crucially, endangered populations of birds like black redstarts. So not only do they benefit our mental health, but the microclimate that surrounds these new habitats does help other species benefit, like black redstarts. And also, interestingly, in the city, there was another green roof with short flowered tongue orchids. I think that was the first colony that was discovered in the UK for 10 years. So I think that urban rewilding, not just protecting our habitats and reinforcing our understanding of the connection between us and wildlife, I think that's all very important. But also we need to protect our endangered species in cities too. And I think urban greening and urban rewilding therefore has many benefits for cities and for the people that live in the cities.
Yeah, interesting. You join us on, you're our guest on the Hen Harrier Day celebration of hen harriers, and it's also a day in which we try and get the message out to everyone about the situations of problems that hen harriers face, particularly in England. How do you think it's best? What's the best way of actually trying to get this message to people living in places like London? Do you think people, the average person walking down the street, actually knows what a hen harrier is?
I don't think they do, David, and that's quite worrying. So, well, we don't have many cities which are near to uplands. So some people will think, well, how are hen harriers relevant to us? What do they have to do with us? So as I've said before, during the pandemic, many people connected with the urban green spaces on their doorstep. They realise the importance of wildlife to them and their city. So I think that another step to take, or for people to take in cities, is to realise that not London and cities like London are just one big ecosystem. they are connected to the ecosystems that surround them, the countryside. And that countryside could include the uplands where the hen harriers live. And they even winter in our lowland habitats too, like coastal areas and heathland and farmland too. So I think that we need to realize, or city dwellers need to realize, that everything is connected, not just the ecosystems in the city, but the ecosystems that surround the city as well. And that includes hen harriers, and hen harriers do play a vital part in the upland ecosystems, and then again in the winter, coastal, heathland and farmland ecosystems too. So people need to realize that, but also they need to see them for themselves. So they should go out to the uplands and see hen harriers, try to find them, and then appreciate their real, how beautiful they are. Well, yes, just appreciate how beautiful they are and how important they are to various ecosystems.
Not many people have seen hen harriers. I mean, my birding life, even though I've been lucky to see them in London, it took me, I mean, the first hen harriers I saw were ringtails, were females or immatures. Like, it took me years to see a male hen harrier. And when I saw one, it was like, oh, it was incredible. Even though the females are great as well, don't get me wrong. But I always dreamt of seeing a male ever since I was a kid. What do hen harriers mean to you?
Like you, David, I haven't really seen many hen harriers. The only hen harrier I did see was a male in November 2018. It was a really beautiful sight, but it's quite sad to see that. It is really heartbreaking to hear that they are declining and to see that they are declining. And that's really mainly because of us, because of humans. So I think that if with events like Hen Harrier Day, we can raise awareness and encourage more people to notice and appreciate hen harriers so that we can all protect them for the future. And I think that hen harriers are a very important part of our upland ecosystems and they should be protected. But for me, I really hope that one day we can see hen harriers thriving all over the UK and hopefully in our cities as well.
Fantastic. And what's next for you, Kabir? What are you up to next? What are you doing?
Well, a number of things. I'll just continue to write my blog, continue to write articles, and overall just continue to encourage people to explore the wild side of London.
Well, I wish you all the success, Kabir. I know you'll be very successful. Thank you very much for joining us on Hen Harrier Day, and keep looking up, Kabir.
I will do, David.